while the Xbox Series X's library of single-player experiences isn't currently on the same level as that of the PS5 or the Switch, though that is a much older console, it's not something to scoff at either. In the 2.5 years since its launch, Microsoft's current-gen console has seen a number of excellent single-player releases, and the library it's built up to this point has no shortage of gems. Here we're going to talk about a few of them. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is a game that never stops showing off, from its gorgeous world and the incredible way it is designed to the quick, smooth traversal mechanics and how enjoyable they make exploration, from the abilities you gain access to throughout the game and how they strengthen the Metroidvania structure, to how radically improved the combat is. Will of the Wisps has many strengths. For Metroidvania fans, it's practically an unmissable game. PSYCHONAUTS 2. More often than not, when a cult classic and its sequel are separated by a massive gap, the latter often ends up being a bit of a disappointment. But that is most certainly not the case with PSYCHONAUTS 2. Double Fine's masterful platformer takes everything that worked in its predecessor, the lovable characters, the best-in-class writing, the fascinating premise, and cranks it all up to 11. Combining that with improvements to key gameplay systems like the combat and boss fights, PSYCHONAUTS 2 ends up delivering one of the best 3D platformers in recent memory. GHOSTWIRE Tokyo. Tango Gameworks clearly stepped outside of its comfort zone with GHOSTWIRE Tokyo, and though some might argue that the open-world title doesn't hit the same heights as the Evil Within games, it's still very much a game worth experiencing. The visually stunning open world, the flashy combat, the traversal mechanics, GHOSTWIRE combines several elements together to craft a solid game with a very unique aesthetic. With its recent Xbox launch, the game also made a number of key improvements and additions that have made it an even fuller experience, so those who haven't had a taste yet should definitely consider giving it a go. Hi-Fi Rush. Speaking of Tango Gameworks stepping outside of its comfort zone, a colorful rhythm game is the last thing you would expect the studio behind The Evil Within to make. And that's exactly what Hi-Fi Rush is, though, and it's absolutely amazing. The stylish rhythm action, the addictive combat, the creativity the game displays from level to level, the endearing characters, and the story, Hi-Fi Rush is brimming with things we can't help but love. That it ranks as one of the best games of the year, even in a year as packed as 2023, speaks volumes about how good it is. Cuphead. Studio MDHR's Run and Gun classic has been strongly associated with Xbox for a while now, so it makes sense that it's still one of the best solo experiences you can play in that ecosystem. Cuphead and its DLC, The Delicious Last Course, are prime examples of how excellent games can be when they're allowed to be creative. From its visual style and its animations, to its grueling yet unforgettable boss fights, Cuphead boasts a laundry list of strengths that make it one of the best games in the Xbox library. Gears 5. Obviously, Gears of War has always been a franchise with a strong multiplayer tilt, but it's still something that solo players can enjoy, courtesy of its campaigns. And Gears 5's campaign is well worth experiencing. With its semi-open world structure and the introduction of light stealth and progression mechanics, it lays the groundwork for what the future could look like for the series, while also delivering the crunching, tightly designed cover shooting action Gears has always been known for. Both Gears 5 and its DLC Hivebusters are easy recommendations for anyone with an Xbox. Forza Horizon 5. Again, Forza Horizon 5 leans strongly towards the multiplayer side of things, though it's also a rare example of a game that allows you to completely ignore those elements if you're someone who just wants a solo experience. And what an experience it is! The massive, stunning open world of Mexico is an absolute joy to drive through no matter how much time you put into the game. Whether you're aimlessly driving about the map, building up your car collection, racing through events, or hunting down the abundance of side activities scattered throughout the map, Forza Horizon 5 never stops being an unabashed masterpiece. Wasteland 3. If you're looking for a classic RPG boasting incredible depth with its systems and a world that you can spend dozens of hours in, look no further than Wasteland 3. Inexile Entertainment's post-apocalyptic title doesn't reinvent the wheel by any means, but what it does is exhibit an excellent understanding of what makes the genre tick. Thanks to its engaging turn-based combat, a bevy of choices that actually matter, a world that's equal parts messed up and hilarious, and so much more. Elden Ring. Obviously, Elden Ring was going to be in this list. The game's only a little over a year old, and yet, already, it's cemented itself as one of the greatest games ever made. From Software has been delivering one masterpiece after another with its Souls-like formula for a long time now, but Elden Ring feels like the culmination of that journey. Not only does it offer the astounding boss fights, ridiculous mechanical depth, and absorbing world building that From games have always been known for, it does it all in a massive, stunning open world that never seems to run out of ways to surprise and delight players. Resident Evil 2. The gold standard of remakes, survival horror games, and really of single-player games as a whole. Taking the excellent yet decidedly aged framework of the original RE2, its 2019 remake reimagines the classic horror experience in some truly radical ways. It does make some significant changes to everything from the level design and story to combat and the camera. But even though it feels like a whole new game in so many ways, it never loses touch with the game that it draws inspiration from. By this point, the RE2 remake has been praised to the moon and back by the masses, and it deserves every bit of that adoration. Dead Space Remake. Speaking of survival horror games and remakes, here's another one that you're not going to want to miss. Dead Space fans have been crying out for a revival of the franchise for quite some time, and earlier this year we finally got that with a remake of the first game, which ended up reminding everyone just why this series is so beloved. The original Dead Space was already one of the best and scariest games we've ever played, so the fact that the remake somehow manages to improve on that in some truly significant ways, from smart design and mechanical changes to touches of polish to the significantly overhauled visuals, deserves a massive amount of credit. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Hot on the heels of the aforementioned Dead Space, EA released yet another excellent single-player adventure earlier this year from Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which is probably best described as the ideal sequel. Fallen Order was, of course, a solid game, but Jedi Survivor builds on its foundations and outdoes it so thoroughly that the 2019 title almost begins to feel obsolete. With excellent combat, incredible platforming, ingenious level design, and some of the best, most astoundingly cinematic set pieces you'll ever see, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a game that anyone with even a passing interest in single-player experiences needs to check out. Hitman 3. Stealth fans haven't had the best of times in recent years, especially if you're talking about the AAA space. But even in this suffocating darkness, we've been treated to a few shining beacons of light. Hitman 3 is one such beacon. It may, in fact, even be one of the best stealth games ever played. Every single location in the game is a dense and meticulously designed sandbox that's brimming with unique gameplay opportunities, and messing with all of those systems to see all the ways you can use them to your advantage never gets boring, even when you're going through the same location for the 10th time or the 20th. Far Cry 6. Far Cry 6 doesn't touch the same heights as something like Far Cry 3, it's still a solid experience in its own right. The open world of Yara is massive, varied, and densely packed full of things to do, and it works as a wonderful playground for all the sandbox chaos that this series has always been so good at delivering. Yes, it does end up feeling a bit bloated and repetitive, as so many Ubisoft games do these days, but there's way more to like here than there is to dislike. A Plague Tale Requiem. Until something changes, for now, A Plague Tale Requiem is the closest thing you'll find on Xbox to narrative-driven third-person action-adventure games like The Last of Us. And though it obviously doesn't deliver that level of industry-leading quality, it's still an unmissable experience. Building upon the foundations of its predecessor, A Plague Tale Requiem crafts a solid blend of stealth, exploration, puzzle-solving, and combat in its simple yet constantly engaging gameplay, while also telling a captivating story and showing off truly gorgeous visuals. That's all for now. If you enjoy what you saw, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, now is a great time to subscribe. We upload brand new videos every single day. After subscribing, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time, right here on Gaming Bolt.